Warm welcome, everybody, to the Sephirah Center of Shamanism. My name is Luke, experienced practitioner and mentor of the shamanic and occult sciences. On this channel, we break down all things relating to the ancient shamanic and occult technologies, bringing them into balance with the modern psychology and deep psyche. Before I go into this topic, I highly recommend checking out my new Patreon. I've left the link in the description. This Patreon includes powerful exclusive content relating to the deeper esoteric practices of shamanism and the occult. You can expect everything from initiations to attunements to powerful ritualistic systems to different ways of working with spirits, shamanic journeys, and many other empowerments to help you grow towards your soul's evolutionary path. Link is in the description. So on to today's topic. Today's topic is going to be the Kundalini Energy and its connection to the black flame. We're going to be delving into the true nature of the Kundalini Energy, looking at what it actually does and what it is actually for, free from the illusions of the New Age and the illusions of duality and dogma. We're also going to be delving into what the black flame actually is and understanding how the Kundalini and the black flame are deeply interconnected and how one will often lead to the other. This is going to be a fascinating subject, so definitely stay tuned. So the Kundalini energy is something which is absolutely fascinating, but not many people really understand the true role of it, and particularly the impact that it has on the nervous system and the psyche. When we talk about the Kundalini energy, we are referring specifically to a dormant serpentine structure that sits coiled at the base of the spine within the root chakra by default. This serpent is our most primal nature. The Kundalini is seen as the source of knowledge within ourselves. The Kundalini is the most primal aspect of humanity, representing our way back to the true divinity that is within us. Because it is a symbol of true divinity, the fact that the serpent sits coiled is symbolic of humanity's relationship with their own godhood and is symbolic of humanity's relationship with their sexual energy, understanding that the sexual energy is the energy of pure creation, so it is therefore the energy of pure godhood. So that means that when we start to activate the Kundalini and we start to actively work with that serpentine force that exists within us, we are then stimulating our nervous system and gaining access to hidden reservoirs of energy and knowledge and realistically power that has been dwelling dormant within our nervous system. But it is a process which will awaken shadows as well. The Kundalini is a force that is not dualistic. Okay, it exists within a non-dualistic space. Okay, it's going to give you access to reservoirs of beautiful love and light, and it will give you access to reservoirs of toxicity and darkness within yourself as well. And many people don't realize this when they start working actively with this serpentine structure. You are working with your most primal self when you are interacting with the Kundalini energy. Therefore, it is not something to just play around with. It's something that represents your true godhood, which means that when the Kundalini starts to go through its process of activation, you are going to start to naturally go through a significant process of metamorphosis where you have to shed your old layer of skin like the serpent does. What that basically means is that you have to shed the layers of who you thought that you were. You go through a significant process of dissolving, whereby you are getting rid of the residual energy that has been encasing the true potential that has been repressed within your nervous system. So the Kundalini starts to rise and it starts to activate the different portions of the nervous system. And in doing so, the repressed trauma that is stuck within that part of the nervous system that has literally been encased, crystallized within the nervous system, will then start to be unleashed and will start to come to the surface. And this is what manifests the New Age term Kundalini syndrome. Okay, Kundalini syndrome referring specifically to a catch-all term that basically means the negative side effects of Kundalini activation. Therefore, many people see the Kundalini practice and the active work with the serpentine force within you as something which is dangerous. So, for one, it can become dangerous if you are not aware that you are tapping into your most primal nature, which means that you are tapping into the deepest portions of your unconscious mind. Somebody goes into it when they are holding on to a lot of trauma and they are trying to activate their Kundalini or open their third eye without doing any groundwork, then what may likely happen is that, yes, they will stimulate that energy, but what will start to happen is that the repressed trauma will start to come through to the surface. It will start to leak through to your conscious mind to be processed. So many people want to raise their Kundalini energy, want to go through a Kundalini awakening, but they are not really aware of the fact that it is a primal process, a process whereby you are, in a sense, unlocking your own godhood. Because that serpentine energy represents your own godhood, it is the sexual energy, which is the energy of pure creation. When it sits dormant at the base of the spine, it's very much symbolic of how the sexual energy is focused in one part of the body and one part of the field. Okay. Intimacy is focused predominantly on the release. It's focused predominantly on taking you away from the present moment. Whereas actively working with sexual alchemy, working with the sexual energy, is the process of redistributing that sexual energy from the root chakra, from the base of the spine, up into your upper chakras so that you can gain access to the creative potential that is the Kundalini energy. Okay, so the Kundalini energy is an extremely powerful force within us and is the way back to your godhood. And when you start to go through the process or start engaging with in practices of Kundalini awakening, then what is going to happen is that you are going to stimulate your nervous system and you're going to experience the repressed trauma that is stuck in those portions of the nervous system come to the surface. Okay, it is an ongoing process because the serpentine structure, as I said, is one of continuous shedding, one of continuous metamorphosis, continuously shedding that old layer of skin to grow more and more into your potential. Okay, so the Kundalini rises up through the different chakras, through the different layers of the nervous system, into the crown and out through the crown, up into the cosmos. But it doesn't end there. You then continue to raise that Kundalini energy. You still continue to work with the same centers and work with the same nervous system. It's not like you activate the Kundalini and you're going to transcend out of your physical body. You're still going to be working with yourself, working with your nervous system, working with your trauma, but on a much deeper level as you get into the deeper practices. So what I advise to anybody who is wanting to get into Kundalini related practice is to really delve into their shadow. Okay, because if these repressed traumas start to come to the surface and you start to essentially sensitize your nervous system, then you're going to feel things that you have repressed. Okay, and that is a lot of stuff. We repress a lot of stuff within the unconscious mind, within the nervous system, without us actually realizing it, purely because when the trauma occurs, we learn that it's not safe to feel those emotions. So we repress it, we encase it, and it literally crystallizes within the body, crystallizes within the nervous system. And what the Kundalini energy is doing is it is generating a heat. That's why it's seen as a fire. And this fire energy burns through these crystallized emotions and then causes them to then flow through to be processed and integrated. It is an epic process of self-development, but is one that is non-dualistic in nature, one that involves you processing some deeper portions of your psyche in order to tap into the godhood that exists underneath. You can see the different layers of the snake's skin as the different constructs that you have created to encase your full potential, as that is really symbolic of what is actually happening in your nervous system when you actively work with this Kundalini energy, with this serpentine force. You are activating that part of the nervous system, and the crystallized emotions are melting and then leaking through to your conscious mind to be processed and integrated. And as you activate more of that energy, then it's going to activate deeper layers within the nervous system, and deeper layers and deeper layers. So you, in a way, become the serpent, you become the snake, whereby you are then continuously growing, continuously changing, continuously releasing your attachments, and ultimately going on your path of soul evolution. That is what real Kundalini energy is actually about. It is a continuous process of self-development. This is why when you are interacting with, say, various spirits that have a dissolving nature to them, such as a daemon, then what's happening is that you are going through that process naturally, and you are, in a sense, opening up dormant parts of your nervous system, and you are working actively with the Kundalini energy as well. Preserving the sexual energy is one that also helps for being able to tap into the life force that exists within you, being the serpentine force, being the Kundalini energy. If all of your sexual energy is released, then you still have access to that life force, but not as much of it, or should I say, it won't be as concentrated. What I've found in my personal practice is that going through various stages and various periods whereby the sexual energy is retained, that naturally stimulates the nervous system, that naturally sensitizes the nervous system. And if you release sexual energy, it's desensitizing the nervous system. So when you hold on to the sexual energy, naturally your nervous system is sensitizing, and it improves how you are able to process certain things that are repressed within the nervous system. Everything in balance, though, when I refer to preserving the sexual energy. It can move too far into the other direction where you don't want to release at all. So the sexual energy is the Kundalini energy, because the Kundalini energy is your godhood. The serpentine energy is your God self that existed before the multiverse. The reason for that is because the first beings in existence were referred to as the forces of creation and destruction, and those were the dragon spirits. I've spoken about dragons before on this channel. I highly recommend checking out my video on the Draconian Current, as that talks about dragons in detail. But what dragons actually are forces of creation and destruction that are not bound by any laws of any particular realm. They exist in the void itself, which is the realm of the true gods. These dragons, being serpentine forces, breathing symbolic fire that is symbolic of the purifying qualities of the Kundalini energy, they were the first beings in existence that destroy and create. And that's exactly what the void does. That's exactly what the realm of the true gods does. Without any predefined laws or regulations, it destroys what is false, what is illusionary, and reestablishes what is true. And that is what the serpentine force actually does. That is the role that it plays within your body and within your nervous system. It is the way back to the primordial chaos. And this is why the Kundalini is connected to the black flame. So the black flame, also known as the flame of godhood, is a current of energy that exists within all of us, but by default, through the predefined constructs that we have been programmed with, and simply by coming into this physical incarnation, the black flame is greatly extinguished or is operating on an extremely low energy because it's just encased. Does that sound similar to the Kundalini, the fact that the Kundalini is coiled at the base of the spine? The black flame represents the spark of chaos, a spark of chaos that exists within every being. That spark of chaos is representative of your shadow self. Your shadow self being the way back to your true potential. So if the black flame is greatly extinguished and extremely small and barely playing the role of its full potential, then you can see how that is the same as the concept of the Kundalini being coiled at the base of the spine. When we refer to left-hand path practices, which are practices that are focused towards self-deification, the black flame was said to be something which was planted within every being, every human being, by the current of the adversary in order to give the being access to its godhood. But the idea is that that godhood has been repressed and placed outside of us, so the black flame is small. The process of igniting the black flame, much like the activation of the Kundalini, is an ongoing process. It is an ongoing process of igniting the spark of primordial chaos and actually merging with chaos itself. So it's the process of facing some of your deeper, more repressed traumas so that you can then start to tap into the godlike potential that exists within those traumas. And that is the process of igniting the black flame. It is burning away the residue so that you can tap into deeper portions of your full potential. And the fact that the black flame is burning, what does the Kundalini do? The Kundalini is a fiery energy. So the black flame is, in essence, the Kundalini energy because both represent your way back to godhood. Both represent your way back to your true self. Both represent your way back to the ultimate spiritual attainment, which is your own divinity. So activating the Kundalini is a process of undergoing continuous trauma work and metamorphosis to grow into a closer alignment with your true essence, with your true self. And the black flame is exactly the same. Okay, the black flame represents your connection to your true creative potential, represents your connection to the true spark of divinity that is you, the true spark of divinity that is within your body and within your nervous system. The process of activating the black flame can be done in numerous ways, working with negatively polarized spirits such as daemons is a very good way to activate the black flame. Initiating through various different types of systems or path workings can activate the black flame as well. Working actively with adversarial currents can awaken the black flame. Going through, this is, I would say, the ultimate process of black flame ignition, and that is the Qliphothic initiation, because you are actively going into the realms of primordial chaos and are actively opening up these different spheres that are actually mirroring different portions of your nervous system, of your energy field. And in doing so, it's causing a big stimulation in that part of the energy body. And in doing so, it's causing a big dissolving process, a dissolving of the old layer of skin. Okay, and that old layer of skin, if we refer to the concept of the Qliphoth, is called the shells. Yeah, the Qliphoth literally means shell or husk, referring specifically to the residual energy, the shadows that encase one's true divinity. And that's exactly the same with the Kundalini energy. The Kundalini energy is shedding the different layers of skin to tap into deeper portions of your unconscious mind. The different layers of skin referring specifically to the personas that have been created to encase your true divinity, referring specifically to the cliffothic shells. So you don't have to work with those systems to be able to do Kundalini work. There's many other ways, and you don't have to work with those systems to activate your black flame. You can activate your black flame through daily practice. There are specific mantras that you can utilize to tap into your primordial self. There are various spirits, various practices that you can use to connect to your primal nature on a deeper level. And the most simple way of doing that is just doing self-reflection, doing inner child work, going into your shadow. That's where it starts. And naturally going through that process, the deeper you go, it becomes a little bit like Pandora's box. You then open the box and then you gain access to other tools and techniques, other practices, other initiatory systems that can help you continue with your continuous process of metamorphosis. So the conclusion is that the black flame is the Kundalini energy. It's just referring specifically to a very primordial portion of that energy, as the Kundalini energy is non-dualistic in nature. So the black flame is the Kundalini is the black flame. One influences the other. You activate your black flame, activate your primordial self, you are activating a portion of the Kundalini. If you're tapping into the Kundalini energy through breath work or whatever that is, and you're experiencing traumas coming to the surface, you are facing your primordial self and therefore facing some of your deeper woundings. And that is the same as activating your black flame. So it is a fascinating concept that is not separate from one another. Okay, you activate the black flame, it activates the Kundalini. You activate the Kundalini, it activates the black flame. We also refer to, if we look at the mythology, so for example, Lilith's mythology, okay, the story of Lilith and Samael, the story goes that Lilith and Samael existed within the Garden of Eden, the real Garden of Eden, and they gave birth through their sexual union to what they call the serpent-born, which is symbolic of the fully risen Kundalini energy. Yeah, people who were connected to their own divinity. It was only when, in the story, that you could call it the demiurge or Jehovah, or you could say Yahweh or Yaldabaoth, whatever you want to refer to this being as, basically a lesser god, which is symbolic of the ego and symbolic of the patriarchy and symbolic of the oppressive forces of the world around us, comes along and wants to separate Lilith and Samael. And then he succeeds in doing so. Lilith and Samael then split. Samael is castrated. And the story goes that the demiurge then crafts people out of clay and they become the clayborns. And the clayborns are the people that you could call detached from their divinity or detached from their sexual energy. And these are the people that you could say that have that coiled serpent at the base of the spine. When we refer to Satan, we refer to Satan as essentially paying a strong contribution to essentially creating the Fireborns referring specifically to those who are connected to their own divinity. So one aspect refers to the Fireborn as connected to their own divinity, and another mythology would refer to the Serpentborn as connected to their own divinity, understanding that the Kundalini is the fire and the fire is the Kundalini. So they are one. This is a fascinating subject, but I think that is all I need to speak about on it. If you want to know more, then definitely check out my Patreon. I have different methods for awakening the black flame and working actively with the black flame using adversarial forces, as well as the system of Chandali, which is a safe form of Kundalini activation. It activates the Kundalini in safe, staggered way. Okay, so this is very useful for those who are wanting to tap into this energy, this primal energy, in a safe and staggered way, and in a way that is gradual and safe. Okay, but for now, thank you guys. If this video was helpful to you, hit like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.